The Netherlands is a small country in Western Europe. It has a population similar of that to New York State, and it has a 93% English fluency rate. The US is a much larger country and is often associated with the English language, so naturally you'd think that the US would have a higher rate of English comprehension, but that's not true. The US has a 91% rate of English fluency. This is mostly due to the presence of a lot of Spanish-speaking immigrants in this country. Now, why does Netherlands, a country that natively speaks Dutch and not English, have a higher rate of English fluency than the United States? Well, education. Language education is taken very seriously in the Netherlands. The students don't just learn English either. They learn French, German, and a variety of other languages. I believe that the US should invest a similar amount of money into the education system in order to teach these languages. Not just these languages in particular, but languages that we would find useful, such as Spanish, Chinese, French, German, or even Latin, if the student has masochistic tendencies. This would greatly increase the productivity of the United States in economic terms. It would increase the brain power of the United States. People who learn languages and are bilingual or trilingual or whatever you want have a higher rate of intelligence than other people who don't. It simply makes sense. Also, with the growing economy and the growing presence of China and Latin America, it only really makes sense to educate our population in these languages, or any language they want. It makes perfect sense, and if the Netherlands can do it, I think we can too. Now, you may ask, where are we going to find all these teachers that can speak all these languages? Well, in high schools today, we can find many language teachers. Another question that arises from this statement is, why aren't the language programs that we have already effective in relation to the Netherlands? Well, this is because the Netherlands focuses a lot of their education time on these languages. Not just one period of high school class. Think about several years of education are taught in different languages. Now, this would be very different from how we are treated in the US. In the US, the entire stage of education is completely conducted in English. And if you want to learn Spanish, there are schools for that, but generally, most American students live their entire educational lives within a bubble of English, with the exception of a language course here and there. I took 2 courses of Spanish, one in middle school and one in high school. I can't really speak Spanish. I can speak other languages because I put time into them, but that's really beside the point. Why can't I speak Spanish? Because, well, the government doesn't put enough energy into making sure that I learn Spanish. I knew a lot of important grammatical and vocabulary structures from that class, and I'm grateful that I had it, but it didn't really teach me how to speak it and really didn't teach me how to really have an effective conversation in it. It didn't really give me the economic or intelligence benefits that I otherwise would have had, quite clearly. And I think that if we introduce language courses in school where each year of the child's life is taught in a certain language, maybe not the entire education system, certainly that would be a vast overcomplication of the system. But I think if we spent a couple of years of these students' lives making sure they could learn different languages, I think that would be massively beneficial for their education, for the lives of themselves, and for the lifespan of the country. We see in Europe that not only do they learn English very well, especially in Northern European countries, they have time to teach their students other languages. I have a friend who lives in Germany and he's fluent in English. Many Germans are. But they also have time to study other languages, such as Latin, or Dutch, or any other language you'd like. Now, it's clear that the education system, when you have these many years, there's a lot of wasted opportunity for learning here. You could teach them basic arithmetic in English, or you could do the same thing in other languages. There's many other ways we can be improving the education system in order to prepare them for life, and in order to boost the economic output of the United States. And in the world in which the U.S.'s relevance is growing slightly smaller over time, I think this is just generally a really great idea because it's going to prepare students of the future to be able to interact with the outside world that pretty soon they're not going to be comfortable with. I don't think a lot of America's manufacturing jobs are going to be coming back, and in order to maintain a position in economic dominance in the world, we need to interact with the world. The U.S. cannot remain isolationist forever. We cannot simply rely on our own resources. We need to interact with other people. This is why I think we should prepare the generations of America in the future with new language skills in order so they can communicate with the outside world. I think if the U.S. doesn't do this, the investment is just a lost opportunity. We see a lot of these programs where they say if you put $1 in, you get $3 back in economic prospects. Think about the prospects of an American populace that can speak Chinese or Spanish or any other language that needs to cooperate with the world. Because the U.S. doesn't hold a majority of the world's economy. The U.S. does hold 30% of the world's wealth, but doesn't hold all of it. And that percentage is only going to grow smaller as the world's economy grows and the U.S. doesn't have room to compete. So I think that it's paramount that students receive this education that will not only benefit themselves, as I've mentioned, that the IQ of bilingual people is generally higher than the IQs of monolingual people. And I think it's very important that we instill these ideas and we instill these skills into our students. And I think that not doing that is a wasted opportunity. We spend, so many years of their education simply teaching them, in mathematics and science, which is important, even though people say that it won't help them in later life. But I think if we conducted these courses in other languages, I think we could massively benefit in the long run in terms of economic, social, and intelligence backgrounds for these students. And I think the U.S. would definitely grow in prestige and continue our legacy of being a world superpower into the 21st century. Thank you.